The term best golf clubs of the year has been bandied around willy-nilly quite a lot in 2024. Yet today, I honestly think I have the clubs that could potentially be the best irons that no one's particularly buying. Guys, hear me out. Today we're talking about the Wilson Staff Forged irons. As you can tell, these things look absolutely gorgeous, and my fellow YouTube reviewers kind of agree with me. You can see I've got the bladed version here, but we also have a couple of different irons that you can see in the kind of cavity back model. I think this is, sorry Bobby, it's a good job you're here Bobby, isn't it? And should we do that again? The cavity back model. Now I think these look absolutely fantastic. It's a really nice put together set. These are used by major champions. They are used by some of the best golfers in the world. And I played golf with Paul Lawrie not long ago. He used these, and I'll talk you through that in today's video. But for now, I will tidy that mess up. We're going to play a couple of holes here at Woolwich Park Golf Club, talk through exactly why I think people potentially aren't spending the money on these Wilson golf clubs, why potentially you should be spending your money on these Wilson golf clubs, and how Wilson as a brand is kind of taking the market by storm without really taking the market by storm. So we have a lovely autumnal day here at Woolwich Park, and the perfect day to potentially try and go low with these irons. We will talk numbers in this video as well for both the CB and the MB. Not that that's what they're called, but the cavity back and the blade. Right. Nice little fade, Bobby, to kick things off. Top line looks delightful. That's a little heavy one to start with, but it will do. So you may well see that these are quite well used, and the reason why this video has taken me so long is not just because I am lazy and haven't done it, but a close friend of mine, Chris, he's been using these irons, well, pretty much all year, and he really likes them. So the beauty about these irons isn't just that they are nice and forged and feel great, but also you can split the set. You can go that cavity back, you can go the muscle back. And when I said to Chris, oh, can I have these irons back? He said, just take the bladed long irons and the cavity short irons. Not really the point, Chris. It's not really the point at all. So that was, it was a duff, Rob, wasn't it, off the first tee? But that's where I do feel like you're not going to get a huge amount of difference in forgiveness between the cavity back and the blade, but I've brought both 4 irons out today, so we'll do a test out here in the golf course and just properly put that to the test, because I feel like to reach the fairway, to be honest, that ball has done remarkably well. And if I look at both the 4 irons here, you can see quite a difference, to be honest. You can see a much slimmer bottom edge on the blade, or the sole even. What am I talking about, Bobby? Bottom edge. You can see obviously a huge difference in shelf appeal. Would you say that one looks nicer?
That looks so cool.
It does look cool. That's bad. I don't know what Chris has been doing with that. But then we'll talk through it as we go. And I'm going to hit just a little 9-iron, I think, which of course is the only one left in the wrapper. Always happens when there's people on the tee, Bobby, doesn't it? Always. That looks so good. I'm sorry, but that's gorgeous. Can we have a moment, Bobby, for this top line? Like, literally, that's one of the nicest things I've ever seen in the world. Wonderful. Right. Is this enough club? We'll go middle of the green. I've pulled it onto the flag, and that could be close. Right. I'm going to get emotional here, but these are so good. They're so good. Right, that is a birdie opportunity on the very first hole with these Wilson Staff irons. Now, little known fact, maybe a little known fact, Bobby, do you know the brand with the most major championship wins iron category?
I do, because you've told me.
He knows because I told him. It's in fact Wilson. And I don't think they kind of tap into it enough, to be honest. Like, I would be in it all the time. You know, like every single advert, every single iron that comes out, I'd have special edition irons and everything. And they don't really kind of shout their mouths off. And they don't do it with marketing either. Like the new Dynapower drivers and stuff, they're good, aren't they? Like they've been very, look at the backspin we've had here, Rob. On a nice little moist morning. Very good ball and club combination. But yeah, I would literally be like shouting from the rooftops about that. Obviously the likes of Paul Lawrie, Podrick, Harrington more recently, of course Gary Woodland. They've all added to the tally. Who will be next to get a Wilson major? Right, Bobby, just outside left. That's filthy. These greens are ridiculous for the time of year. Ridiculous for the time of year. Par. So if we're going to go split set potential, which I think a lot of people would maybe do, this is the Forge model, it's the staff model, and I really, which one would you go with? Guys, get in the comments below and let me know, would you go with these? Right, I'm going to hit the 9 iron, the 7 iron and the 4 iron with both. I'm going to see potentially which one I can hit better. We might talk a little bit of tech in this CB as well, because let's be fair, in the staff model blade, there's no tech. So we'll kick off with the pitching wedge. I know I said we're going to do a 9 iron, but for me, these are certainly the clubs where you are going to test for scoring. I actually played earlier today with a set of hollow-bodied irons. And the one thing I didn't like about them was, when it comes to pitching wedge, can you play that 130-yard shot, but also can you play that 100-yard shot sawn off? Looking at these two, I think it's amazing how Wilson have managed to keep them looking so good, both of them. And I think ideally you would just work these into a split set. Obviously, my Tacoma 301s here, I have CBs in the long iron. Look at the mud in there. That's from another day. They don't have the Floridian mud, that, Chris. And then I have the bladed irons in the short irons. So I think a lot of people would potentially try that. We'll kick things off with the blade because I've got the wrapper off it. A lot of people here are going to be looking for feel. They're going to be looking for spin rate. They're going to be looking for... That's what I'm looking at, Chris. Come and look it down here, because how thin is that heel area? The toe looks massive and the heel looks really, really, really small. So if you do struggle with a... Can I say it? Maybe these aren't going to be for you, but I had a warm-up with this club and it felt just like that. Wow. Now, if you're looking for a club that feels as good as it looks and goes the perfect distance first time off the bat, 8,000 spin, 125 carry, and these are all traditional lofted, as you can imagine as well, so that's the exact shot I want to hit. That one was a little bit more skinny. I imagine that one's going to be about a 120. You're not going to get the go 125 again. Now this could be interesting, because if these clubs do have the element of forgiveness that I'm thinking maybe they don't have, could they be the perfect clubs? You can see how the CG or the mass has been distributed around this face. So that is designed just to help you enhance the feel and maybe enhance the flight a touch. Come on. One more with this and we'll go CB. That's the one that you turn it over a little bit. That one's going to carry probably 130, but it's going to cling onto the green. 129, going a little bit more, spinning less, as I would imagine. Now, as we go to the CB, I find this really, really interesting, because the CB is the club here in the pitching wedge that I think a lot of people potentially won't have in the CB. They'll have probably in the MB or the blade. But I think a lot of people who potentially are thinking, you know what, I'm just going to go full Wilson staff cavity backs. The top line's a little bit thicker. It's still, to be honest, it's still not the most forgiving looking club, but you can tell there's a little bit more tech in here, which I do quite like. I think a lot of people are going to want that just for a bit better feel. I've hit that really bottomy, and if that carries the distance, I'll be amazed. No, it hasn't. That was a terrible strike. 120. Loads of spin on there, though. And this is where, if you are going to go for these clubs, if you are going to go for Wilson staff irons, does it really matter? Is there as big a difference here as what a lot of people do think? I've absolutely ripped that, and that feels as good as any iron I've ever tested. I'm going to put it out there now. 127 carry. It stopped on a dime. That's the best shot I've hit so far. Spin rate 8,000. So that stopped really, really nicely. So if I can't really kind of split these too much, let's see how they go throughout the bag. I think for how good that feels, you know, I wouldn't bother with the blade. That is absolutely gorgeous. Okay, as the sun breaks out, I've got a song in my head, and you know when sometimes it's really relevant? I've been waiting, and I have been waiting for Chris to give me these irons back so I can try them. Should we go bladed or cavity off this tee?
Cavity, it's early.
Cavity, it's early. Bobby's going cavity. We will hit the blade, I promise. But just having like sets that do really, really blend in nicely, I think it's huge for a brand if you want to sell a lot of irons. And these do that absolutely to a T. Right, a little draw off that bunker, try and strike it better. Oh yeah. There we go. That was better. That's a nice little low one. penetrating around the corner. And that was actually a little bit toey as well. If we come and have a look at where the tee was there, I've entered the turf at the right area, but it was just a little bit out the toe. So it'll be interesting to see how far that's gone and how forgiving it is. And again, I'm looking forward to comparing this. Such a shame, innit? Ooh, against the blade. And so you see, again, I feel like I've gotten away with it there. We are blocked out a little bit. And again, it wasn't the best strike you would want. 7-iron or 6? Wind behind, 7. So 7-iron is in the blade in this set that I've got. And again, you can get the full set of blades if you want, or the full set of CBs. Around 900 quid, I think, for a full set. So they're not the cheapest, but there's plenty of tech in there as well, which we'll talk about a little bit as the video goes on. How much tech do you want in a set of them, though? You really don't, do you? Why aren't people buying them, Bobby? That's come out so well, hasn't it, and hot. That's perfect. Absolutely perfect. Even a little bit blemished. I'm blemished. And you know, I've got the set of staff wedges as well at home. I haven't done a video on them yet. People really don't kind of get enchanted or excited by wedges. But if you'd like to see me do it, guys, comment below. And I will, just for you, because we have tested them up at Dundonald when we got to go and see next year's Wilson stuff, which actually looks really good as well. They're not irons though, I can't tell you what they are. It doesn't leave much, does it, for the... But the wedges are really, really good. We've got some right spin on them and they feel great and they look great. So yeah, if you want to see a full video on that, make sure you do. Hit that subscribe button and let me know in the comments below. That's another birdie chance, Bobby. Not that this video, the success of this video isn't determined by if we get under par or not, because that's going to heavily come down to the putting, which it always does. It's going to come down to, do I feel like these clubs are value for money? Do I feel like potentially I would spend my money on them? And do I potentially feel like people who aren't even giving them a look in are missing a trick? They're my 3 stipulations. Right, that's miles off. Oh, you had the line this time? It's my own fault because I left the leaf on my shoe. Do you ever do that and you think, I should really get that? Yeah. Say no more, Bobby. All the hole counts, level part. Let's move through the bag and let's see potentially the difference in these mid-irons, because when it gets to mid-irons, this is a really interesting thought. Which one do you go with here? This is the area of the bag where a lot of people would split the set. They would go, you know what? I might move into the CB from the MB. I might want... This is so hard to get off. Usually they're really easy to get off as well. There we go. I might want that bladed 7-iron just as I go into the 8-iron. We'll go blade first, I think, and we'll move back here on the golf zone, because personally, I think, I reckon 164 7-iron blade.
I'd go more.
You'd go more. Usually 165 for me is about nice. We're going to go more. Chris has told us to go more. So do you want me to step on these, Chris? No, just normal. Right, can we have, first of all, a close-up at this, but also a moment's appreciation for how Wilson have made these clubs look, because they look unbelievable, don't they? They look really, really, really good. And there's more coming from Wilson this year as well, so really interesting to see how they're doing. This is the blade. I've not hit that well at all. That's going to be really short. 150. And that's realistically what you do get with a club like this if you don't strike it. That's massively down on ball speed because I didn't get it. Can we get there to this distance? This is where you start to see yourself get a little bit unstuck. It's another kind of 150-ish carry there. And I'm hoping things get better into the CB. It's a shame because this looks so good and it's not too dissimilar to the club I'm using. They're just bad golf swings. I'm still working on my hack motion lesson in my head a little bit. Oh yeah. I mean, when it's good, it's really good. I'll be amazed if that is there though. Is that going to be a 165-ish? Oh, it's there, Chris. That's unbelievable. You can tell who used to carry on tour and you can tell who just stands here aimlessly hitting balls. So when you do get that bladed 7-iron, it goes the distance. You've got 7,000 spin there. That's unbelievable. This straight away is more my kind of wheelhouse. Doesn't look that different, just a little bit of a thicker top line, but blade length still nice and traditional. And you see, I've not struck that, but I reckon that's the number. Go on. Oh, 165, I'm taking all day with a 7, funnily enough. Like 6-7 spin there, I think, for how I struck that, I can't wait to try the 4-irons, you know. Chris, what are your thoughts on those strikes?
Sound much better with the CB.
Yeah, I thought that. I feel like I've hit that well, and it's a 160 again. It's a number which I would be comfortable with, I'd be happy with. 7,000 spin, but let's try and step on this one and see. So again, I've struck that pretty well. CB definitely going higher here, and I don't know if that's maybe affecting how far the ball's going. I felt like with the MB, we'll hit one more 7-iron MB before we go into the 4-irons. I certainly felt as though I could maybe flight this down a little bit and just cover the yardage. You see the difference in that ball flight? A lot more direct and a lot more, I mean, look at the distance there. 177. If you are thinking about trying to work a ball flight, thinking more about artistry, bringing the spin rate down, 5,600 that, as opposed to 7,000, these clubs are absolutely gorgeous. Look at that ball flight, that's incredible. And I don't need to look because I know that's gone the distance. They're going miles, aren't they? So when it comes to technology in these clubs, as you can imagine, it is full of plenty of technology, and they do feature a forged 8620 carbon steel, a precision milled cavity back which allows a longer ball to face contact, precise toe weighting which can eliminate the low left shot, which to be honest may have helped us a bit today, and of course it features that fluid feel hosel which is designed to eliminate unused weight. The Staff model CB hosel is an adaptation of Wilson Staff's classic Dynapower irons. The hosel design redistributes weight towards the toe, elevating its overall performance. And I did read that off a tech sheet because I just can't memorise it, and I'm sorry if that upsets you. But what do we have here? You know what else is good? The actual Dynapower forged irons. Because the D9 irons were really good, and I bet you'll get them cheap, and they were really good last year. The Dynapower forged, they're fantastic. I've done a video on those already. They're a bit more forgiving than these, so if that's what you want out of a club. I have 152. Oh no, 150. Playing 159. Would you say that's uphill? It isn't.
Oh, it was, yeah.
Yeah, I wouldn't have had it uphill if I was guessing. It's either a big 8 or like a little chippy 7. Should we go for the Richard Crawshaw 7?
Yeah.
Does Rich still use these?
He's got a set of the Staff models, yeah.
Yeah.
He's got a set of them in the battle.
They just remind me of him. Not when we've got driver videos to come today. Anyone wondering about the driver head covers in the bag? These are two drivers that were made, built, and potentially even tested by major champions. Just bringing the fire, aren't I, Rob, to close out 2024? Right, just a nice low flighted one. This will go about 165, so it might go long if I don't take some off. Oh, fade, please. Let's hit the tree. That was such a good ball flight as well. That's my feelings at the moment. I want another one just for fun to see if I can start it just a tiny bit more online. You've got these in the shop? What are these irons? The demo hub capital of the world. Come on. That was sick. That flag is tucked in it, to be fair. That's that low one. That could just go that way when it lands. So easy to flight them. I'm going to repair that because you should always leave the course in a better state than what you found it. Especially one that's in this good a condition in October. One of them days, Bob, I think. Right, I'm quite impressed with that. The second one's the perfect distance, that lovely low ball flight we did. The first one obviously did clip the tree. I still think that would have faded back, Rob, do you? Obviously it's lob wedge here, isn't it? I wish I'd have brought the Wilson wedges out to show you today. Perfect day for them. Perfect day! I'll stop because I don't know who's editing this one. No, I feel like I should. Is it Lizzie McGuire or something like that? feel like I've had a lot of putts that distance with these irons. I mean, that's obviously down to the putter. We've also bruised my triad from the tree. Hurt its feelings. Great ball, them triads for the price. Great ball. Now, pray for James, because hopefully these go a little bit better. These are the 4 irons. These are the clubs that you've all come to see. Spectacular looking. I love the looks of these, but I also look how Wilson have tried to make them traditional looking. We can see they've got the kind of through, was it the old through shaft kind of thing there? I'd say technology, but it's not technology, is it? So let's set this up. How far do you reckon? 2.7 or 2.18? What do you reckon? I'm going to let you choose. 4 iron for me is usually 2.10, isn't it? But that 7 iron was going 1.78. Should we go CB first? Are you happy with that? 2.07.
CB first.
CB first. I think for a CB, you might as well have the blade. Personally, looking at that, I think I'd rather have, I mean, there's very, very minimal offset, lovely kind of mid to thick top line. But realistically, if you're going to have a 4 iron like that, just go with the blade. I think that's so good. It's a touch left, but from this distance, what's that carrying? So Chris clubbed me at 2.07, and that carried 2.07. It's almost like you know, isn't it? Spin rate, 4 and a bit. Very scientific, that, isn't it? 4 and a bit. That's toey. That's not going to be there. That's not going to be there. And you sort of lose that emphasis on the feel as well there. I mean, it still carried 194, but there's no way that that was ever going to go the distance from that strike. What if I try and flat this down a little bit like I was the 7? That's so much more direct, isn't it? Like that's, as a ball fly, what more do you want from a 4 iron? Realistically, it's running through the green a bit. Still spinning at 4,000 though, so nice numbers. I'd love to say as well, these grips are absolutely gorgeous in these clubs as well. Golf Pride Z grips, these, standard thickness. I'm really, really enjoying this. Guys, I hope you're enjoying this as much as I am. This, look at this. Wow. As traditional as you would ever want a golf club to look. Now, we're okay here in the simulator doing this. I don't think I'd want to be on a par 3 stood at 210 in any weather. Never mind in the cold here in the UK at the moment. Ah! That really hurt. Ow. I've just tried to hit that so hard. And that's going the same distance as the 7 iron. And that's a lesson to all of us here. A lesson to all of us, right? There's me saying you might as well have the blade. I think I've kind of toed and froed with this review and toed and froed about, I'm going to get these out on the golf course, guys. So if you want to see that, make sure you smash that subscribe button below. But look at this, you know, and so aside then, watch this. How good does that look? That looks absolutely gorgeous. And I think if you're going to buy these clubs, you're buying them primarily for the look and feel, and you have to be an absolute baller if you're buying them for the performance. Because every 1 in 10, you might hit it like that one, and it still might not get, oh, just front edge. Right, I did promise we were going to test this bad boy and this bad boy. So the first thing to look at really is the differences in looks. And I've already spoken about the sole, but when we put them down, look at the difference there. But blade length very similar, so they do blend in nicely. Top line totally different, and offset totally different as well. So I know which one I'd rather have. I don't know why I put the balls back in here, but we'll just see exactly what the differences are. Hopefully we have a good golf swing, which would be nice, wouldn't it? What? I've literally put that ball there. So there's a new law here in the UK where you can't get rid of worm casts. It's awful, isn't it? Like, this golf course is in exceptional condition, but everywhere just struggles with it. What should I go first?
Go CB first.
See, ooh. Injured now, perfect. No need to be so angry all the time, Rob. Right, so just towards that post, this is the CB. I'm not going to try and fly it or anything, I'm just going to put a normal swing on it. Felt lovely, much better strike than earlier. And that's out there towards that post. I can't really ask for much more. So we'll go same shot with the blade. Like, will the blade feel softer ultimately? Do you think? Can it? I mean, it looks petrifying, to be honest. Look at that for a difference in ball flight. And you know what? I haven't tried to fly that down. It's just come out lower. I think I've caught it a little bit low on the face. It's probably got a bit more spin, but it's not risen up. Let's go and see the difference in those. Let's finish off this hole, see if we can get under par. Because obviously the success of this video is all determined by if we can break par. So I realise that we haven't really spoken in too much depth about why potentially people aren't buying these irons. And I want to have a little bit of a for and against. So I'm trying to make your job easier for you, Bobby. I'm moving around. I'm on a merry-go-round. So I'm thinking that they look classical, they feel great, and if you're wanting like a spin rate that matches the number on the bottom with a couple of zeros on the end, and you're wanting something you can control, perfect. If you're wanting something that goes miles, obviously Wilson have the dyno power, they have lots of different clubs that do that, but these aren't them. And golf's hard, and I think people are starting to realise more and more just how hard golf is. And they're not really cheaper than clubs with technology in them. So I think people are going, well, actually, I'd rather pay the money for the club with the technology in them, and it's going to make golf easier, which I'm all there for. I think golf should be made a little bit easier because it's hard. You look at the difference in these two here, it's exactly what I would have anticipated. We have the CB on the left, which was a little bit higher and potentially a slightly better strike, but to be honest, I felt they were both pretty good. The MB on the right, obviously it was a bit lower, and maybe it's just landed a bit shorter and not run out because it's wet. All in all, I'm happy with both those shots for the test that we've done. And as you've seen in the numbers in this video, just good numbers, like just good solid numbers, everything that you would want. And as soon as we kind of go down to the kind of, you're not going to be able to do anything with your shadow here, Bobby, are you? We've sold you down the river here. When we go to the pitching wedge, like this is the perfect looking pitching wedge. It's nice and rounded on top, it's got a nice top line, it's got next to no offset. Where's he put this flag, Bob? There. See what I mean? I was going to drop it, but it's too muddy and wet. If we can get under par, that's the video, isn't it? What do you think to this little bit of backspin, Bobby? Nice bit of distance control. That's where the blades are really, really nice. You can probably get that today with a normal iron, to be fair, but this for the Open Championship, Bobby. Call me Paul Lorry. Use me Wilson irons. Doesn't move at all. Guys, they are the irons that I personally think potentially you should be looking at even into next year if you want a nice set of forged soft irons. Not many people are buying them, and I don't know why.